Follow the money. That's what I always say. You always follow the money. Yeah.
This is Follow the Money with Mitch Moss and Pauly Howard on VSiN.
Hey, welcome in. It is Follow the Money here on VSiN. This show is brought to you by DraftKings. Pauly Howard is out again today. Jonathan Von Tobel filling in admirably with me for the next 3 hours. We were told 24-hour bug with Pauly. It's turned into a 48-hour bug. Could be 72 by tomorrow. Who knows?
I was going to say, Christmas bug just lasts all the way through Christmas. He's like, Von Tobel's got it.
Right. Maybe through the new year. I don't know. Is it going to turn into the winter of Pauly?
No, don't. I don't need the tweets.
No.
All right? I'm not replacing him. I'm just sitting in a seat. That was one of my favorites in the summer. He's sitting in a chair. I'm like, relax. I had a outpatient procedure that day, and I just had to cover up the scar. It was a magical summer that summer.
It goes around this time of year.
Yes.
Okay. So we have a big show lined up. Julian Edlow on a big NBA card coming up in about 30 minutes. Sal Palantonio on the show today as well. We'll begin. I've been out here since 2001 and for a long stretch. And, before I moved out here, when I was much younger, my dad would always bring home like these tickets and they would be like for bowl games, right? So we'd have action on all the bowl games. And this is when I was in elementary and middle school and it was something to root for and it was great. So I've been betting on bowl games for a long time. Then you come out here in Las Vegas when it was the only spot where legal sports betting was it, for so many years, and you get to know a bunch of people in the racket, either bookmakers or people who bet for a living. And a lot of people would tell me that this, right now, was like always their favorite time of year. They love the bowl season. They couldn't wait to bet because it was like the information would come out. You could find the teams that are motivated against the teams that are not motivated. I don't think it's really that way anymore.
No.
I think for the people who used to think that, they've probably done a 180. And we'll have guys like Brad Powers are going to be on the show tomorrow. He comes on every single Thursday. He's probably pulling his hair out over some of this stuff. Last night, in the Marshall, Texas San Antonio bowl game, right? UTSA sitting there when we were on the air yesterday morning as a 12-point favorite, and they close as a 7-point favorite. We get the news in the morning that Harris, the quarterback, is not going to play for Texas San Antonio in his 7th year. That's it for him. Going to call it quits. So he's out. They go down. It moves. So you have Marshall now. For people who are betting on news like that, well, okay, we'll take Marshall plus 12, and we'll go to war with that team. The closing line value, JVT, it's a full 5 points because it closed 7, maybe 7.5 at some spots, and Texas San Antonio was trailing in that game 14-0. And you're thinking to yourself, oh, this is a great ticket that I have. I got Marshall plus the 12. I'm up 14-0 right now. Easy peasy, right? They're down by 4 at halftime. They get blown out by 18 points. They scored 3 more points the rest of the way.
By the way, if you're betting Bulls, there's no way after watching Western Kentucky the other day that you're up 14-0. You're thinking that, right?
I would hope not.
Right.
And I think basically like that has to be one of the lessons like over the last couple of years, but maybe it's getting worse, I think, with the players who are going into the transfer portal. And then we're finding out game day decisions by quarterbacks who have played in college for 7 years are not going to play.
Yep.
We found out yesterday the Syracuse quarterback had shoulder surgery. They play tomorrow night. That total got as high as 61. I know a couple, at least, of bettors who have been making the case for the over in that game. Got as high as 61, now down to 56.5. I think maybe the overall point is here, if you were on Marshall plus 12 and you got that, you had to come back in the game yesterday when they're up 14-0. You had to try to come back and go for the middle and try to win both those bets.
Yeah,
right?
I think so, especially when you know the volatility. And I think you hit on one of the biggest points. By the way, I've been told before, love betting Bulls, right? Love that this is the best time of the year. I think I'm winning my best. I think I shouldn't say easier, right? But if you're following information, the rate of getting closing line value and good closing line value is easier, right? The probability of you getting closing line value is a lot easier in bowl season, but the results don't really come. And you hit on an important point, which is, look, the transfer portal, all sorts of things, talent just getting better in college football, that the depths of these rosters, it's a little bit hard to evaluate them. And when you get into these situations where we could talk about motivation, but once you get onto the field, for the most part, the players that are playing are motivated to win said game, it's a little bit difficult. But I think overall, to your point, if you have the opportunity, I think it's paramount to sit there and set yourself up, because I don't think there's really, outside of what, Mitch, maybe some preseasons, right, where you're talking about betting something based on information that swings the other way and setting up some sort of middle, and even then, right, it's preseason, so the limits are really low. But if you're in an advantageous position and you get closing line value, you should find ways to middle yourselves in bowl season, especially with these early bowls, right, where it's all this volatility, where all these personnel changes and moves, because it is, I think, going to be more volatile than not, and we've already seen it early on in a lot of these books.
Oh, we have. And on the air yesterday, we said we should keep track. This is now, again, on the heels of what took place in the Western Kentucky game when they're down 28-0. And for people who were laying 2.5 with Old Dominion to not win that bet is just, it's all-time bad. But we said on the air we should keep track of how many teams, when they get down by double digits or 2 touchdowns or more in a game, to come back and win. That's now back-to-back bowl games. Where that actually, and not only did Texas San Antonio come back to win, they also covered the game laying that number and laying any number that was available at any point on that game, which is just bonkers. I'll give you an example. I have a ticket on Missouri in pocket at plus 6.5 against Ohio State. Now, I was hoping that number would touch 3 because it completely flipped and Missouri turned into the favorite. I wanted to come back and grab Ohio State plus 3 to have a 9.5 point middle there. I missed my opportunity because money has now trickled back in Ohio State when they play this game. It's now down to a pick 'em pretty much in most spots. But I think that I need to, at some point, either take Ohio State, pick 'em, or watch the game, sit down, have no other plans, and if Missouri gets out to a lead, I need to come back at some point and figure out what I'm going to buy back in Ohio State.
Yep.
Because, hey, at one point I had, again, 8 full points of closing line value, right? 9 points. And what does that mean if I don't win the ticket? It goes in the trash.
Yep.
So what? I'm the CLV king for one game, and it means absolutely nothing. I don't care. The CLV is going to mean I want to win tickets.
Yes. Now, I will say, but there's a lot of people who are like, see, it means nothing. Closing line value does mean something, right? It does help you out.
Of course it does, right. It puts you in the best spot to win.
Of course. It improves the probability of you winning a bet more than, anybody like me who's getting involved in this game because I don't have anything now at this point. But like to your point, and I always one of my angles I like in football a lot, and especially not especially in college football, but it always reminds me of the yes/no run first innings in baseball, which is you get runs in the first inning more often than you think because it's actually the top of the lineup. People don't think that's the case, but it's really true. And the same thing for football. These opening drives, you're heavily scripted, you're getting ready this whole entire time. You get a high rate of success. So to your point, sitting back and waiting, you might get an opportunity at the first drive from Missouri.
Maybe.
Right, getting ready to go, first drive, heavily scripted. You run through your first 15, 10 plays, and all of a sudden, boom, you find pay dirt, and then you can find yourself an opportunity to do something. But yes, I think you just sit there and you wait for the best opportunity and hope it shows up because sometimes it doesn't.
We're also we have a game tomorrow. There's no games today for some reason, but a game tomorrow, a game Friday, and then we have 7 on Saturday. So people love betting bowl games. It's going to be, every game's going to be on TV. They're going to want to have that action. So that they're going to have, these games on Saturday will be bet, I'm guessing, heavily at some books anyway. And look at some of these numbers right now. Like San Jose State, for example. I haven't heard one person make the case against San Jose State in this bowl game. In the Hawaii Bowl, they were bet from 7 up to as high as 12. Now basically 10.5 in that game. No sure thing.
Yep.
I mean, it looks great on paper. And you have, going through those key numbers of lane 7 and now where it is as we speak doesn't mean they're going to win the game. Doesn't mean they're going to cover. Same thing, Utah. Utah State, actually. They went from a 3-point dog to a 2.5 point favorite.
Yep.
Looks awesome. What does it mean?
These two especially, and I'm focusing on San Jose State really quickly. This is the one that kind of gets me because the angle here obviously is San Jose State closed the season really strong. They end up, they beat UNLV, they beat the crap out of UNLV in the regular season finale to give themselves a shot at the Mountain West Championship game, and they know they don't get there. Shaven Cordero's going back home, so he's playing in front of the crowd. He started in his career in Hawaii. But I always ask the question in these games, how much is motivation worth? Right? And I get everything's going on with Coastal Carolina in terms of, people, players leaving, key personnel, everything. But at some point you reach that point where it does behoove you to come back on the other side because everything that we expect, everything that we know, everything we've talked about has been baked into these numbers to a certain point. So if you're coming in late and you're going, of course, essentially what we're asking is, what is Shaven Cordero playing in Hawaii worth? Right? Because that's one of the big reasons why this thing was bet up as high as it is.
Sure.
And I find myself gravitating, if I'm not into these games, to the other side at some point. Like Utah, for example. Northwestern's going to be heavily motivated, right? They rallied around their guy. They get to bowl season. They're going to be awesome. Hey, Utah's laying 6.5.
Right.
Now it's under a touchdown.
Down from 9.
Yep. Those are the games that I'm really interested in, actually kind of going a little contrarian and coming back the other side because at some point there is value coming back the other way.
Watch Whittingham actually take this thing seriously.
Yep.
And I know we had Paul Stone on the show yesterday, and he made a great point. This is a team that is now, the last couple of years, they're playing in the Rose Bowl against Ohio State in a great game. They're on the precipice of making the playoff. They don't get there. And now as Paul said, no offense against the Las Vegas Bowl. The Las Vegas Bowl over the years has had really good matchups. But now they're going to be playing, and everybody's like, oh, they're not. Watch them, 21-0 Utah into the first quarter.
Sure.
You know, it looks like they came to play today.
Dude, this was a team of zombies, and they were so beat up in multiple positions. They
Absolutely.
were like 6-1 at one point. They were ranked. They were awesome.
Of course, it was a great story.
Yep.
Like, look at this team. They're going to do some serious damage. They got off to a great start. They took out Florida. They had a tough non-conference. They were doing damage. And in a really good Pac-12, you're like, this team might win the conference. And then they could never get their quarterback back. Other guys were dinged up the entire way.
And there's a reason why Northwestern was such a good story. Because their preseason win total was 2.5, and they're not a particularly great roster. So at some point, there is going to be that discrepancy. You know what's a good example? Cal, Texas Tech, right? Cal had all the motivation in the world. They end the regular season strong. They go in there. They beat UCLA to get to a bowl game. That's all they talked about. They wanted to get there. They faced Texas Tech. Texas Tech, nothing special, but a better team in terms of talent. Cal, motivated as hell. Smoked.
Killed.
And I had Cal. I was like, yeah, this is not the right side.
Yep. And they lost by 3 touchdowns, basically, in that game. Bowl season. It's fun. It's fun, they
great,
say.
Yeah.
It's a great time of year to make money.
It's when I'm the best. It's when I'm at my best.
Wow. I mean, it is. Now, you're a young fella. I have you by, 15 years?
I don't know. How old are you?
47?
Yeah, so about there.
So, I mean, I can remember when it was like rock solid. You knew that these teams were going to. I mean, it's completely. But also, it's like.
Watching on tape delay.
This is night. Yeah, right. This is night and day compared to what? 3 years ago?
Oh, yeah.
2 years ago?
Yep.
Incredible. Am I catching whatever Pauly had?
I don't know. You don't sound great.
You'll be going solo the rest of the show. Yeah, good for you. Strong immune system. Up next, win some, lose some. Another massive upset in college basketball last night.
Last night? Wow, winning. Or was it a rough one?
Well, they can't all be winners, can they?
Loser! You're a loser! Pauly Howard recaps the night in sports betting in Win Some, Lose Some.
Well, good call by you yesterday, JVT. You liked the Grizz plus the points. Who needed the points, right?
Yeah.
Plus $3 on the money line. They were down by 24 against the Pelicans, came roaring back. Morant was awesome in his first game back of the season. And you made a point yesterday. Maybe you want to grab 6-1 in that team to make the play-in tournament.
Yeah, they're going to have to play really high-level basketball to get there. But you saw the big difference yesterday. This is a team we talked about on the podcast. Harvard Handicappers, wherever you get it. This is a team that desperately needed a north-south presence, like pressure the rim. 37% of their attempts at the rim, they shot 67% on those. Like he makes a massive difference.
Yeah, he's
it helps
so good.
To hit the game winner too.
Yeah, under in that game, bet from 232.5 to 228 pushed. All you need is one bad quarter. And that's what it was in the first, 25-21, I believe?
Every time.
Okay. NHL, Dallas Stars 9-1 to the over. Last 10 in a row over in the first period. By the way, you're getting that around -135, -140.
Wow.
In that territory. They've been blazing hot. I think it's like 21-5 the last 26 first period over with the Dallas Stars. Western Carolina, Vanderbilt, under 144.5 to 139. Great call. Final score 63-62 by the market. NFL win totals over so far on the season. Baltimore, the 49ers, the Dolphins, Lions, Rams, Buccaneers, Texans, and Colts have all cashed over tickets from the preseason. This is one of the reasons why we live out here in Las Vegas. Subscribe, become part of the team today. vsin.com/subscribe. You can watch these videos right on your phone. The Vegas sunrises and the sunsets, by the way, out here in the wintertime are spectacular. You get this probably 3 or 4 times a week.
That's got to be a filter of some sort, right?
I don't think
That's
it is.
Incredible.
I don't think it is. I saw that right away on Twitter. You look at the oranges, the blues, the purples.
This is the part
pinks.
of Las Vegas people don't really think exists, right? Nice suburbs, nice setting, scenery, nature. It's a great spot to live.
A lot of people think it's, you live on the Strip, right? No, it's spread out. It's actually quite vast.
Wow. I think I'm going to cry. This is beautiful.
Well, you're a local.
That's right.
It really hits home for
My
you.
town. One of the first 100 families to settle in Las Vegas.
Yeah, Von Tobel, big name out here. Yeah.
Google it.
Oh, yeah. Silver spoon.
Right? I'm still waiting for my riches.
Lose some. When's that going to kick in?
Yeah, right.
Lose some. Teams to go under on the year. You can cash these tickets. So it is still a win some, but Bengals, Chargers, Jets, Giants, Panthers, Patriots, all to the under. Samford, Valpo, over 153 to 162, 79-61 final. USC, Alabama State over 145 to 150. Not close. 79-57 final. James Madison over 145 to 150. They won 87-48. The bowl game, like we talked about, Marshall plus 12 to plus 7. They lost by, score 35-17. Marshall under 56.5 to 46.5. There was a 10-point move on the total for that game. And look at the landing spot. Texas San Antonio quarterback Frank Harris out before the game. And Montana, UC Davis over 145.5 to 147. Here's the upset I was talking about in college basketball. Matt Humans came on the show yesterday and made a case to fade UCLA. They were laying 17.5 at the time against Northridge. UCLA trailed by 14 at halftime. They lost outright. They're 5-5 on the season. Holy smokes, what has happened?
It's really bad, and it's pretty much their offense. Their offense has got nothing in some of these games, and it's surprising because you at least expect to be able to do it, but against Cal State Northridge, less than 0.95 points per possession. It's abysmal.
Yep, and one other loose sum. This tweet from David Purdom, ESPN Chalk. A month before the season, the Jets winning the Super Bowl, that scenario was the worst-case scenario for several sports books around the nation. I checked out one of my accounts yesterday.
Got one.
I had a ticket from January 26th. The Jets 45 to 1 to win the Super Bowl.
I'm assuming that's pre-Aaron Rodgers. Of course it is.
Oh,
that's
almost that ticket's almost a year old.
Yeah.
That's how long I was willing to lock up that ticket because that was the date. The day after, actually, it was the owner and the GM said, we're going to do whatever we can to get a quarterback. And then the Hackett thing happened, and it's like, it's going to be Aaron Rodgers.
Was your hope officially extinguished yesterday when he announced that he wasn't going to come back, even though we all thought he was?
That would have been 4 plays into the season. When he went down and I had to put up with Zach Wilson, and you knew right away.
Yep.
It's like, okay, that was fun while it lasted, wasn't it?
Yep.
So that ticket lasted, I had to, from January 26th to the opening Monday night of the football season, I waited that long, and then it took 4 plays.
Those are the ones that stink. You'd rather sweat it out, I think, and lose in agonizing fashion.
Of course. Yep. All I want for the holidays this year is some NBA action. This week, new customers can score $150 instantly in bonus bets just for betting $5. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use the code FOLLOW only on DraftKings Sportsbook with the code FOLLOW. The crown is yours. So other football news, quarterback news that we have this week. The Heineke news dropped yesterday when we were on the show. He's getting the start for the Falcons. There's also this from Adam Schefter last night. C.J. Stroud, who was as high as, minus 20,000 to win Offensive Rookie of the Year, missed the game against the Titans. Didn't matter. They still won the game, came back, and took him down to go to 8-6. He is now likely to miss a second straight game Sunday against the Browns. And it looked like going back to last week, earlier in the week, like when the look-ahead numbers were announced, that they were going to, the plan was here, he was going to sit out against Tennessee, and then he was going to be ready to go against Cleveland. That has since flipped now. Can we go with this now? Is his word going to be gospel on this?
Right.
Because I have Monday night in my head still what happened there with the Geno Smith, Drew Lock, Jalen Hurts, and Marcus Mariota stuff.
Yeah. I mean, I think you can. Concussions are somewhat serious, and you want to make sure that he's going to be ready for what looks like is a postseason push. If you're the Texans and you don't want to put him out there if it's too early, it does sound pretty serious, right? Generally, it's like a week and then you're right back in it. Mm-hmm. So it sounds like it'd be one that's relatively serious. But I think if you're the Houston Texans, like you're playing 2 games here, right? You're playing the, hey, we're 8-6 and we're pushing for a playoff spot that nobody really expected us to. We're pushing for 10 wins. But at the same time, we also got a kid who actually looks like he's the best quarterback of his class. And we might have something here. And you got to make sure that he is actually going to be healthy and ready to go. It's
flipped now, JVT. Cleveland is laying 2.5 in the game.
Yeah.
Based on the news.
Based on that and the way that Case Keenum played. Case Keenum I was really surprised. I mean, and I don't know, maybe they're going to do the switcheroo here thing again. Never understand the whole have a dude as your backup quarterback all season long and then go with the third string guy to start a game, right? So Davis Mills, I thought it was going to be the long neck of Davis Mills out there against the Titans. It wasn't the case. PFF passing grade of 45.5 for Case Keenum in the game against Tennessee. He committed 4 turnover-worthy plays, had the pick 6. He was awful. So now against this defense?
I know. I mean, and Pauly was making the case right away on Monday, even with the thought that Stroud was coming back. The wrong team was favored based on how the Browns, well now, in his opinion, the right team is favored because of the backup quarterback here probably going the way it looks as of now. Did you know Adam Burke, who does a great job here on the network, he does a lot of write-ups every single day at vsin.com. That was the game Adam Burke and his partner were on.
Yeah.
In Circa Survivor for $9.2 million. They were one of the final 13 entries, and they had Tennessee.
Up 13-0.
And up 13-0. Watching some of the film guys tweet stuff out this week, Will Levis had DeAndre Hopkins for like an 82-yard touchdown, and he underthrew him by like 12 yards.
Yep.
And that should have been 6. And that should have been, every time I looked up, and that game was on one of the TVs for me on Sunday, it felt like the Texans were deep inside their own territory and Keenum was getting sacked yet again. And again, going back and forth between games, I have no idea how they won that game. Now, Tennessee didn't do a lot offensively, but up 13-0 and you blow it like that, I mean, that's an absolute killer.
Yep. No, I'm with you. Like watching that, you got bad quarterback play. It's amazing because sometimes you got to get these coin flips. And it does speak to like Levis has done a pretty good job, I think, so far. It's been up and down. I think there's been more down than up. And you can kind of see the flashes there. But like that, especially with a guy who does have a high physical skill set, the fact that he underthrew it was pretty surprising.
That shocked me, actually.
But they've been super aggressive. You know, his average depth of target in that game was over 14 yards. Like they're just taking shots.
They take shots, yeah.
Yep. So it leads to high variance, which is, it's kind of like the three-point shooting in basketball, right? If you're going to take a lot of threes, there's going to be nights where you're hitting and you're going to throw 4 touchdowns against the Atlanta Falcons, and then there's going to be other days where you're just taking shots over and over again, and you blow a 13-0 lead because you can't get anything outside of 13 points from your offense.
Is C.J. Stroud, has he done enough to this point? If he doesn't play another snap this year, has he done enough to win Rookie of the Year?
I think so. I don't think there's a question about it.
With 3 games left, what if Gibbs has 5 touchdowns in the next 3 games?
I think there's something more to being a rookie starting quarterback and taking a team like this to where you did. So what, 7-6 as a starter? We assume he's coming back and playing 1 or 2 more games. Maybe.
I would think so,
yeah.
But I also thought he was going to play this week.
Right. I would think he's going to come back, give you at least 1 more game or so. But I don't think we're making the case that any of these guys can catch him.
Nakua?
I don't think. I mean, I'm of the mindset that, like, at this point, if he was this strong of a candidate to win this, why would missing 2 games knock him out of contention to win it?
What if he doesn't play again in the regular season?
I mean, that's a little bit of a different conversation.
That's a major leap I'm getting at. But yeah.
But I think you're perfectly fine if you have anything good on CJ Stroud.
Yeah, I mean, if he comes back and plays, he's going to win the award. I mean, it's his. I mean, he was minus 20,000 last week. He's minus 1,000 now. I also know this. Jacksonville was minus 20,000 to make the playoffs 3 weeks ago.
Hey, I'm in. Minus 10,000. That seems like a steal. Good value.
You fired on Jacksonville? That's a good move. Good move. Up next, Julian Edlow is going to join the program from DraftKings. We'll hit tonight's large NBA card. He's been telling us about a player prop for like 2 or 3 weeks now. I'm sure he's going to bet it again, right?
This is Follow the Money on VSiN.
VSiN Pro subscribers get a whole bunch of stuff. You get access to daily best bets from VSiN show hosts and guests. One of the more exciting aspects of the website, the exclusive betting splits, and all of our betting guides. We get a Super Bowl betting guide. You got a March Madness betting guide. You got more. Check it all out and become a VSiN Pro subscriber for only $79. You get access to everything we do until May 1st. And by the way, that's everything in between. Daily write-ups at every single sport. Check it out. What do you got to lose? VSiN.com/subscribe.
Very good. Julian Edlow joins the program with DraftKings. His podcast is called the Unreasonable Odds Podcast. Julian, good to talk to you as always. You put us on, probably 2 weeks ago, you were putting us on Kobe White props. And man, have you been spot on. This crazy run by Kobe White continues. The Bulls are 4-point dogs tonight against the Lakers at home. What are you noticing this morning right away with White, and how do you want to approach his props in this game?
Yeah, like I said to you guys before the segment, Kobe White is Santa Claus, man. He is just delivering at the holiday season game after game. It's now 9 games in a row. I'll be as quick as I can. I don't want to sound like a broken record. We do it week after week. 9 games now since Zach LaVine went down. Kobe White is averaging 25.4 points, 6.8 assists, 6.4 rebounds. He is a clean 9-0 to the over on his points, rebounds, and assist prop. And I know he's going over his points and assists as well, essentially every game. But I've just been bundling everything together. Started in the 28 to 29.5 range. Took way longer than it should have to get to 30, 32.5. It's now the highest it's been against the Lakers. It's 33.5. But he has been going way over this. It's 41, 39, 42. He's been clearing his prop by around 10 points, rebounds, assists every time. So 33.5 is not going to scare me off regardless of the matchup. So just going to keep playing this one until the wheels fall off.
All right, so that's small sample size. Really quickly, we threw about this for 5 seconds yesterday. Most improved player, is he a candidate for that?
He's got to be a candidate. I wouldn't say he's the leader in the clubhouse. Some other guys are playing really well and started showing their improvement, I guess, off the top of the season rather than coming on a little late. But coming on at the start of December is not all that late when the year closes. People will forget that there were better candidates for the first month and a half of the season or whatever. So I think it has some legs to it, particularly if Zach LaVine finds another home, because that has been the key piece that is missing here that has given Coby White this platform. So if LaVine is moved, and that's certainly, a pretty good option, then Coby White's going to have a fantastic rest of the season and be in the mix for that award.
Yeah. And as long as they keep it low 30s like this, still playable. I mean, if he's like hitting 35, 36, 37 and continues to go over, once they bump it up to like 35 and a half, then I'd probably say at that point, unless I'm wrong on this, Julian, maybe stay away at that point then?
Yeah, I had the number in my head as about 36 and a half.
Okay.
So we're on the same page there. That's probably where I would go to. But again, if I got to look back and see if I use 36 and a half, what would his record be in these 9 games? He's still probably like 8-1 or 7-2.
Crazy.
He's been around 40.
Another player prop before we get into some of the games here. What do you want to do with Colin Sexton and his prop tonight?
Yeah, Colin Sexton's at 21.5 points. It was minus 115 juice when I put this one out on Twitter last night. It's getting a little juicier. I think 145. You can decide if you want to lay that or wait and see if it goes to 22. But similar situation here, just playing off of injury news. Keontae George went down during that Knicks-Jazz game, like 3 or 4 minutes into the game. And Jordan Clarkson was also out that game and has been out since. So with Keontae George and Jordan Clarkson both out, 2 key guards for the Jazz, Colin Sexton, who was kind of a forgotten guy, has played a much bigger role. So last 4 games, he's averaging 27 points in 32 and a half minutes per game. He's had no fewer than 26 points in any of those games. So even if you want to play like a 25 plus as an alt for plus money to look to get a little bit more of a payout there, I'm fine with that. If you're a revenge narrative person, Sexton's playing back in Cleveland tonight, team that drafted him, team that traded him to Utah, if you want to put any stock in that. But the number has just been rolling the last 4 games, so I will keep going with Colin Sexton over 21.5 points.
All right, let's follow the money here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network. Our guest, Julian Edlow with DraftKings, and Jonathan Von Tobel's in today. Pauly's out. JBT is also VSiN's NBA senior betting analyst. I think there's... So you again, for like years now, you've been, and I'm talking to JVT now, you've been higher on the Clippers than a lot of people.
I
right?
thought you were going to say resident Clippers fan instead of the senior NBA title. So
you love them. So now Julian's going to make a case here in this game. They take on the Mavericks tonight. Have a back and forth here. It's 2.5 or 3 on the Clips for the hottest team in the NBA.
Yeah, so I know JVT might have a little bit of a different take here. I am going to lay the 3 with the Clippers. They're rolling. It's, 8 in a row now, right? 8 wins in a row for the Clippers. They've found their stride. Harden's playing a lot more like old James Harden than the guy that we've seen the last couple of years. So, at some point, this is going to come undone, but I'm going to play on the hot team here. And, JVT mentioned to me, we talked about it briefly before the show, Dallas has been a tougher matchup for the Clippers. And you remember that 7-game series a couple years back. But they're not that good at home. They're 7-5 straight up, 5-7 against the spread at home. So when you get, shorter numbers on Dallas because they're at home, it hasn't been a bad spot to fade them, because that's generally where they haven't played as well, at least against the number. So once you get, to a possession or less on the Clippers, and unless you're playing an elite team, I'm probably okay laying the number.
Yeah, I don't think I disagree. For me, it was more, Julian, about the situation here today. Paul George has an illness. He's questionable. It's the front end of a back-to-back. They get OKC tomorrow. And so if you're the Clippers, do you make the decision to give Paul George some rest? Because both of these are very important Western Conference contests. Mm-hmm. And would rather have Paul George sit out today and then get ready for OKC tomorrow, just because you need to, I think, split one of these two. I don't think it's guaranteed that they're going to take both of them. And so that was my only theory here, is if it's the front end of a back-to-back and a questionable Paul George, if he doesn't play, you'll probably get a better number. I wouldn't even say no to laying like 1.5, 1, if it's going to be that without Paul George. But that was my only hesitancy. With George popping up in the injury report, I think situationally it behooves you to circle Dallas here, because I think there's a shot he doesn't play tonight.
That's all fair.
Yeah.
Okay. Explain to me...
That they're the best team in the NBA?
They are quickly turning into what? Are they top 5 at this point?
Oh, yeah, 100%.
But you're scoffing at top 5. Okay, so easy. All right.
Top 2. Top 1.
Explain to me why the Rockets, and we'll have more on this coming up in about 10 minutes. The Hawks are terrible ATS. Mm-hmm. Why are the Rockets, Julian, laying only 3 points in this game tonight?
Because the Rockets are somehow good and the Hawks are somehow bad. And here we are in, approaching Christmas, and we got the Rockets favored over the Hawks. This one, I'll look silly if I lose this one. I laid 3 last night. It's 3.5 now. I'm fine with that. Hawks are a team I bet a win total over on. Rockets are a team I bet an under win total on. And here I am backing the Rockets in a head-to-head laying points. But, Houston is 11-1 straight up and against the spread at home. Mm-hmm. They've just been dominant at home for whatever reason. It's almost like there's a few teams that are very good at home in the NBA. They're one of them. It's almost like a college team at this point, how good they are at home. And Atlanta's the worst team in the NBA against the spread. They're 6-20 against the spread. They've been a little bit better covering the number on the road than at home, but they've just been bad in general, and they've been terrible since Jalen Johnson got hurt. He's a guy that they really started relying on, and they started going downhill. So I will back the Rockets here at home. It's been a place that they've gotten the job done.
Yeah, I'm going to be on Houston tonight, and this is, to me, it's one of those, Julian, where I'm just willing to be wrong. Like, to your point, Mitch, the Atlanta Hawks are a terrible defensive team. It's a reason why, as a favorite, they're 2-11 now against the spread. You can't win by margin, and you're not asking them to do it here, but you bring the floor up of any of your opponents that you're facing, and that's Houston, who is, I think, right now, Julian, what are they? Would you mention what they're at home?
Yeah,
They're ridiculous. Yeah, 11-1 ATS at home.
Up and against the spread.
Yep, like they've been brilliant. There's a few bets where I think you just make a play, and you're like, I'm willing to take it on the chin if they lose, and this is one of them with Houston.
Yeah. Okay, let's go rapid fire here, Julian. We've got 2 minutes left. College basketball, it's a great card tonight. What do you want to do with North Carolina and Oklahoma?
Yeah, love UNC. Okay. Oklahoma's undefeated. They're a very good team. I'm not sure if they're a great team, and they certainly haven't really been tested. They've had a couple of decent games, but Carolina played Kentucky tough, and I have a lot of respect for Kentucky. Came up short. They're coming off the loss. This is a, quote-unquote neutral game. It's in Charlotte, so it's about 2 hours from UNC's campus. I expect UNC to be ready for this game. I think UNC is the better team, so it's a good chance to fade, an undefeated team that people might think is better than the Tar Heels at a very short number.
Another one tonight, top 25. Now, this is at the Garden, New York City. Duke's laying 2.5 against Baylor. Who do you like?
Somewhat similar situation. Baylor off an embarrassing loss to a Michigan State team that had been awful. They were in the bounce-back spot of all bounce-back spots. Playing in Detroit, they beat Baylor handily. Now Baylor gets a neutral game at MSG against Duke, who Duke's okay. I don't know if they're great. Every time they've gone away from home this season, they scraped by Michigan State when they were playing at their worst at MSG, and then they lost road games at Arkansas and at Georgia Tech. So now away from home, I'll take, an angry Baylor team that I think is just as good, if not better than Duke, off the loss in this one.
You also like a Creighton, Arizona moneyline parlay, and you want the Wildcats to win the Pac-12.
I'm going to slap a couple big favorites together here. I think Creighton at home and Arizona at home, particularly Arizona off the Purdue loss, are in great spots to win. I'll forget the number. It's around -130 on the parlay. And then off the loss, everybody's looking down on Arizona. Look at the rest of the teams. You talked about UCLA, who lost last night. The rest of the teams in the Pac-12 are not good. I will take Arizona to win the Pac-12. I think it's a good time to get in there.
Thanks, Julian. Best of luck tonight.
Thank you, guys.
Up next, we'll look at the best and worst teams in the NFL and NBA ATS.
This is Follow the Money on VSiN.
Juice Reel is a free betting intelligence app and a tool that every bettor needs. Juice Reel links your betting accounts into one app, delivers in-depth analytics on your betting history, and there's more at Juice Reel. You have access to the betting history of billions of bets placed by all Juice Reel users. This in-depth betting analytics with billions of data points enables you to tail the winning bettors and fade the losers. Find it for yourself. Download Juice Reel, like orange juice, and Reel, R-E-E-L. Download the free app in the Apple App Store or Google Play Store. It's free. Juice Reel. Juice, R-E-E-L.
Here we go with your weekly look at the best teams against the spread in the NFL and the NBA. We'll throw in totals as well. We have 6 teams in the NFL that are hitting at 64.3%, all 9-5 on the year. The Ravens, Cowboys, Dolphins, Buccaneers, Colts, and Lions. And the Ravens are covering on average by 6.5 points per week. The Cowboys by 6.1 points per week. Have you been on any of those teams like a lot this year?
The Dolphins have been one that I've been on quite a bit. Especially the obvious one is against some of these bad teams. I feel like I should have done. I've actually bet quite a few Buccaneers games as well. The Colts one is the one that I feel like I should be on like almost every week. They're barely getting by. You look at the ATS margin, but holy smokes, they keep getting it done.
I know they do. By the way, you put together a model for the NFL season during the summertime, and you and I actually have a contest entry in the Super Contest out here at the Westgate. We'll touch on that a little bit later on, what you have learned from the process of putting together a model for the NFL season. But yeah, Baltimore, that number, by the way, on Christmas night against the Niners got a little bit too high for the market yesterday.
Yep.
Touched 6 at some spots, now came back down to the Niners laying 5 in that game on Monday night. The worst teams in the NFL ATS. The Patriots are 3-10-1, missing the cover on average by 5.4 points per game. Carolina 3-9-2 ATS. The Falcons are 4-10. Look at the NFC South. The Saints are 4-9-1 against the spread. So the Buccaneers are one of the best teams, and then you have the other 3 teams who are the worst. Chargers 5-9, Broncos 5-8-1 against the spread. You've been fading any of those teams.
There have been, surprisingly enough, a lot of Patriots opponents on my cards and weekends. And it's funny because so before the season started, Gil Alexander asked me on a show, he said, what do you feel like your island take is in the National Football League? And I am not embarrassed to admit this. I said this before the season started. I actually think the Patriots might be kind of good for a team that, has their expectations preseason.
I think others made the case for that win total to go over, right?
Yeah. And so I don't think I was like super alone on that, but it did feel like it was a rare take. But you saw the writing on the wall early. But the shocking thing is, and you can tell by this when you look at some of the numbers, the market was really stubborn. And in fact, you saw consecutive weeks where the market was betting on them.
Oh, 100% they were.
Right? We're talking about the Giants game, the Commanders game, both of those games which are closing and asking to win by margin of over a key number of 3 or so. This has been a team that is definitely worth fading throughout the season. I think we're probably getting to a point where we're at a market low. We're obviously starting to see that, right? Because of some of the results. But throughout the season, there's been a lot of anti-Patriot sentiment from me.
They've also played a little bit better here recently.
Yes.
Over the last couple of weeks. Also, tying in their performance in week 1, maybe that should have been a sign that it was going to be not that great of a year for the Eagles. And I say not that great, they still have 10 wins.
That's a good point.
But maybe it's like, I don't know, that's looking back now, knowing what we know, it's like how they should have lost the game outright.
Because there's a lot of people who will tell you, you want to, essentially get rid of the first few weeks of the NFL. I don't think so. There's things you can glean from week 1 all the way up to where we're at right now to the end of the season. And to your point, watching Philly scuffle with them and then watch them scuffle throughout, that's, if I took that game against Patriots and put it in week 7, I don't think it's any surprise at all that you saw that. Great
point. The best teams to the over in the NFL, again, your Colts, you are a Colts fan, 10-4 to the over. I'm on them this week to go over 43. It's going to be Heineke in that matchup, but done a great job so far. Shane Steichen, Coach of the Year. I saw one offshore book. He became the favorite here at Circa. I think he's third on the betting board. Overall behind Campbell and behind Ryans, but he's got a great shot to win that, and they're going over on average by 5.8 points per game. The Lions are 9-5 to the over, and then you have a slew of teams all at 8-6 to the over. Commanders, Dolphins, Cowboys, among others. This has been really the story again in the NFL season. The best teams to the under in the NFL, and there are a ton of teams that are 10-4 under on the year. Vikings, Raiders, Steelers, Giants, Panthers, Bills, Saints, Chargers. That's 8 teams, all 10-4 to the under. And that's 71.4%, by the way.
Yep.
14 games deep into the season. Hence the totals getting so low this year throughout the league. Now, as we flip it to the NBA, look at the list of teams covering, and we are almost a third of the way into the season, almost. Mm-hmm. So you have, I think it's 7 teams covering at 61% or better in the NBA. The Thunder are 17-7-1, best team in the league so far, ATS. The Sixers are 18-8. The Rockets, who we talked about last segment, they're 15-7-2, ATS. Orlando 17-8, Brooklyn 17-8-1. The Pelicans, they didn't cover last night, so they're 16-11-1 now. And the Wolves, who play the Sixers tonight, are 14-9-2 ATS.
Yep. I mean, the Wolves have been, I think, out of all of these, right? Like the Sixers are pretty crazy just given what we expected from them. And the market opened up the season. Clearly, I mean, all of these teams, if you're good against the spread, it's an indication the market's a little too low on you. But like the fact that a team like the Philadelphia 76ers, the margin which they're covering by, and the Timberwolves have been one of the better stories, and we get to see them today. So two of the best ATS teams going head-to-head later tonight is going to be quite the thing to watch. But like all of these teams, if you look at it for most of them, pretty low expectations, right? The Rockets, the Magic, the Nets, the Pelicans, like not teams that were expected to be uber competitive this season, and they're doing really well. These are teams that the market's too low on, but these teams have been incredible. And to go to the Thunder really quickly, the last 2 seasons coming into this year, Mitch, they had covered 2 seasons at a 61% clip.
Yeah.
And now they're at 17-7-1.
Yeah, with expectations this year now.
Yes.
And it continues to roll on.
It's insanity what they're able to do. Imagine just tailing the Rockets the last 3 years every game. You'd be rolling in it.
Yeah.
Or Rockets, excuse me.
Thunder. The worst teams in the NBA ATS. And as we talked about this in the last segment, Rockets have been really good, especially at home. They are playing the worst team ATS in the league tonight. The Hawks are 6-20 ATS. That's 23.1%.
Bad.
How much have you adjusted? Because I think you made a case for them to win their division, right?
Yes, I have a ticket. So I've made the case to win the division. No, I've adjusted pretty hard. Like this is, for example, I mean, this is why I wrote in the column on Monday. It's why I at least bet on Monday that the Pistons team total over. Like I didn't want to trust the Pistons to cover.
Okay.
But the whole point of my write-up was everything screams at you to bet the Pistons in this game because the Hawks are one of the worst teams defensively in the NBA. And that's part of the issue. Is they're a highly rated team from a power rating standpoint. It's starting to adjust a little bit here. But when you have the expectations and you're closing as a favorite in a vast majority of your games, but you're one of the worst defensive teams in the NBA, you cannot win by margin if you cannot hold other teams down.
Good point.
And so, like, this is exactly what's happened with Atlanta. They are abysmal on defense. They're one of the best offenses in the NBA, but they're abysmal on defense. And then when you close as a favorite on top of that in the vast majority of your games, you get a 6-20 ATS record.
Yeah, we'll watch what that game looks like tonight against the Rockets.
Yeah.
Udoka is awesome.
Yep.
As a head coach. So I think I bet that during the break. I bet the Rockets -3.5 tonight.
By the way, real quick, Grizzlies might be on the turnaround here. With Ja back, that power rating doesn't adjust just like that. Okay,
so they're actually, before last night, they were the 3rd worst team in the NBA. The Pistons, think about that. The Pistons losing that many games in a row, they're still only 9-17-1 ATS. Yep. Before last night, the Grizzlies were, improve it today, they're 10-16 now, ATS. Yep. So this is and you made the case yesterday. You thought the 8.5 was too many points. They won it outright. Again, they were getting killed by 24. It doesn't matter. NBA's a long game.
Oh, yeah.
Runs happen all the time. They came back and won it outright, and you saw how they were, at the end of that game, how they were rejuvenated and how they were super excited to have Ja back. And let's, again, not forget here, he's one of the best players in the NBA.
Correct. And he's going to, they're already a top 10 defense. They're a top 10 defense already. So now you add a guy who make you a little bit worse defensively, but it's going to raise your floor as an offense exponentially. And especially if you start to get healthy when Marcus Smart comes back. I don't know, they're not going to make any noise postseason-wise, but they're going to be, I think, a team to start betting on here.
Yeah. We'll get to the best over and under teams in the NBA a little bit later on in the show. I've approached the Western Conference this year like a golf tournament because, you have you're going to go to battle with 3 or 4 guys to win a golf tournament. At least I do, almost every single week. In the Western Conference now, I'm sitting on the Thunder from June at 60-1, the T-Wolves right away at 25, and adding the Clippers at 11.
Yeah. So
I just have to hope that the Lakers don't make a deep run, the Nuggets don't do it this year, and one of those teams will make a perfect scenario here, I'd get Thunder Clippers Western Conference Finals.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I'm with you. So I've loaded it up, except for me. Yeah, it's Timberwolves 30-1 to win the West, and I bet the Clippers 31 to win the NBA Finals.
Okay.
And then I don't think it's going to get there. I got a preseason Cavaliers ticket that is pretty much dead. And I got a great number on Philly, actually. 27-1 to win the NBA Finals.
I told you on that.
Yeah.
That, to me, the Western Conference in the NBA is like the AFC in the NFL.
Oh, yeah. Put 7 of them in a hat, pull it out. If I tell you that's Western Conference champ, I don't think you'd be surprised.
And there's a good shot, a long shot, actually gets there or has a chance in a 7-game series late. Sal Palantonio on the show up next. Is it panic time in Philadelphia over the Eagles?